I felt sorry for the dog. He was simply doing his level best to keep his human out of trouble by being better behaved than said human. Said human wore cheap razor shades, was using a worn-out belt as a harness for the gray and white pit bull mix, waving an unlit cigarette around with the other hand, yelling loud enough to echo in the tiny, tiny bus station about how his dog was a service animal and how it was illegal for them to refuse to let him board with his dog. Pit bulls get a bad rap, and 99% of the time, the reputation they have is completely unwarranted. They're sweet, know their territory, and are protective, all of which make for a good dog as far as I'm concerned. The idea that all dogs should be nice to all people is just misguided. There are reasons dogs don't like people, and it's not the dog's fault that some people simply don't understand canine nature. Dogs are pack animals. They follow whoever the head of the pack is. It's that simple. I call the man Cletus because, well, the moniker just seemed to fit. And after standing near him as he yelled about how the station workers damn well better let him take his not a real service dog on the bus, or else, I don't know. It just seemed to fit. And this was maybe the first time I ever felt sorry for a Greyhound bus driver. And it wouldn't be the last. This wasn't the first time I questioned the wisdom of station workers in allowing someone to board. And also, it wouldn't be the last. Cletus and the dog he didn't deserve took over the bench seat and back. As we rolled west out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I hoped maybe Cletus would settle into a nap for a few hours. But no such luck. We weren't rolling an hour before we started demanding a smoke break. I didn't have no time to smoke, he complained so everyone would hear. He spoke like a man who honestly believed he was saying what everyone else was thinking, but just needed a leader to articulate. But he was not so much inspiring as he was grating, and more than one of us just put in earbuds to drown him out. He threatened to pop the emergency exit window so he could smoke. He threatened to smoke in the rolling porta potty. He threatened to simply light up and dare the driver, or anyone else, to do anything about it. He kept talking and talking and talking. It was impossible to turn up the music loud enough to drown him out. It was as if he knew I was trying to ignore him. I was in for a long ride, headed towards Rapid City and then Billings after that, and I really just wanted peace. Peace and quiet. All the while, the pity Cletus didn't deserve laid in the aisle trying to sleep. He did take up the whole aisle, but luckily the bus wasn't all that full, and no one needed to get to the back to go to the restroom. There he was, sleeping the sleep of the exhausted parent, so accustomed as he was to Cletus and his tirades. At one point, Cletus even tried using the dog to get the bus to stop for a smoke break. My dog needs to take a shit, he said. And if you don't stop this bus so he can shit, I'm just going to let him shit on the bus. And I ain't cleaning it up. During this particular verse and chorus, the dog didn't even move. I have never seen a dog needing to shit that could simply lay there half asleep. Again, it was not hard to get the idea that the poor dog was used to being used as a prop for one of Cletus's tirades. We eventually got a smoke break, and you'd have thought that Cletus was a victorious general, the way he gloated, congratulated himself, and tried to get us to congratulate him. The dog lifted his leg, kept a bleary eye on Cletus, and when it was time to get rolling, reboarded without so much as a sigh. Cletus, on the other hand, started to complain that the bus was too cold. Thanks so much for listening to episode 22 of A Record of a Well-Worn Pair of Traveling Boots. Please be sure to show some love by subscribing to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, wherever podcatcher you use. Check out past episodes and look for episode 23 in a couple of weeks. This is normally the part of the podcast where I ask you that if you really enjoy the podcast, please consider becoming a patron on the Patreon page. But with everything going on, I want to encourage you to find a local bail fund for Black Lives Matter protesters. Find some way to get involved if you are not already involved. There are reasons that some of us aren't out in the streets, and there are, different ways to help and be a part of this movement. So please, 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 please get involved. Black Lives Matter, and it matters so much that we do something about the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and all the others. Thanks again for listening. May the road always rise to meet your feet.